Welcome back to the Vet S.O.S podcast. Remember, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. Grab that Vet S.O.S Lifeline. We're here to help. Now, everybody, I need y'all to pay attention, because this topic is close to me. Some of y'all is going to be listening and watching. It's probably going to be close to you as well. What if the hardest battle you ever fought was the one no one could see? Not because you lack courage, not because you lack strength, but because trauma has a way of changing how we see ourselves, how we trust, how we love. And sometimes, whether we believe tomorrow can be better than today, PTSD doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides. Sometimes it convinces people that surviving is all they'll ever do. But what if healing is possible? Take it from me, it is. What if recovery isn't about becoming who you were before the trauma, but discovering who you're capable of becoming after it? Today's guests believe that healing isn't reserved for a lucky few. And you ask why? Because it's a journey. It's a process. And it's a roadmap. My brother from another, Faust, is the author of Fix Your PTSD Handbook, a compassionate and practical guide that helps readers understand trauma, recognize the stages of PTSD, and begin building a personalized path towards recovery. So whether you're living with PTSD, supporting someone who is, or simply wanting to better understand the human experience, this conversation is going to be for you. Because I already had this conversation time and time again. And it's going to be great. So pull up a chair. Come sit on the stoop, because we're about to get the scoop. Greetings, brother. How we doing today, folks? Oh, man, this conversation is going to be action-packed. Thank you for coming to sit on the stoop to get the scoop of your book, The Fix Your PTSD Handbook. How we doing today?
Hey, we're doing really well, Kings. Thanks for inviting me on. It's a topic very close to my heart, and hopefully what we talk about is going to help some people.
I greatly, like I said, I greatly appreciate you coming on. And I have a little bit of knowledge and the scoop about both, but I know the readers and the audience and the listeners want to know who is Faust and who is this handsome young man on the book of this cover right here. What's the scoop on you, brother?
Kings, if you think I'm a young man, you need glasses. Let me start there. I'm a guy that was been counseling all my life, but 35 years ago, the first veteran I was going to counsel walked into my office, and you and I were talking about that before. Was a Vietnam vet, and was a POW, and they marched him through the jungles. They hung him upside down at night so they didn't run, beat their feet, the whole deal. And he came back with tremendous PTSD, had no idea what was going on. And, talk about baptism by fire. For me, that was the first one that I had to deal with. So I spent a lot of time getting to know the people that I was going to be counseling when it comes to PTSD. So it's, 35 years, and I'm still counseling veterans. It's not something that probably I'm ever going to turn off. But I'm the guy that was interested. I wanted to, get it, allow people to trust me enough to help them, because it's a privilege to work with people who laid down their lives. You guys all you people did a lot to defend us. Now, it's my turn. So it's been a 35 years of commitment and, staying with the program. So it was time to, go on the bigger stage, if you will, and put down a book that people could look at and help them understand how trauma became PTSD, all the things you did to keep it going although you didn't know that's what you were doing, how it developed, and then the roadmap out. and I got a lot of people that I've worked with who have used the program, and, they're still I'm not gonna tell you that they're perfect, but they are not surviving, they're thriving, and that's what we're looking for.
Right. And you said that so well in the book. And I like the way how you how you structured the book, right? You broke it down to three parts, right? The first one I say is building the structure, the foundation, right? The foundational information. Cause I shared my story with you and I didn't understand what I was going through. I just knew that I had to be strong and not say anything. And I didn't want to be like I told her, I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be looked at. I didn't want to be, ostracized. So hey, Kings, just stay quiet and deal with it. Right. So what are some of like breaking the myths and building that understanding and removing that stigma that you put in part one of the book, the foundational information of PTSD?
You know, one of the things that happens with PTSD, Kings, is that it turns what might be a strong mind into a victim.
Mm,
The events, the trauma victimizes the person to begin with. Then you know what happens. Now you start replaying it. The flashbacks come, the dreams come, and what do? The worse it gets, the more you pack it in and you don't tell anybody. Now it starts to become something that you can't let go of. Now we're in PTSD. It's
mm,
important to understand how that happened. We start there. That's what I want people to understand how they were traumatized, how it changed them, and how it moved into PTSD. Then we start unpacking PTSD. And that is not the same for everyone. That's another misconception that we hear. It's the same. No, it isn't. You all have a different story. You told yours.
mm.
Someone else has a different story. Maybe they were, they were there when the IED went off and they're trying to grab their buddies and they couldn't and all the things that happened. And some people are the people that have lost limbs and what have you come back to home and there's nothing for them. Their PTSD is something that I need people to understand how they move from trauma, how it victimized them, how they accept the victimization and began living with it, and then how when you came home, there was nothing to help you.
Right. And that was one of the things I experienced, right? Is that those stages. But when I was going through your book, I was like, wow, if I would have known which stage I was in, I don't know what I could have done, right? It's like now I'm thinking like I'm hitting the rewind button. It's like, wow, if I would have read your book when I was going through my trauma to understand what stage I was feeling or what stage I was in, maybe I could have pulled some of those resources and opened up a little bit more. Like, can someone experience PTSD and not even realize that they're living with it?
Most people do. That's
Hmm.
the interesting part of it. You don't realize I'm in PTSD. For some people, who go to a counseling situation or have a friend who had PTSD, something like that, a family member, they may tell them, and then they start working with it. But even if I say to you, you have PTSD, you're gonna get this idea that okay, something happened, I can't let go of it. That's PTSD. Man, there's a lot more to it than that. Yeah,
Right.
this thing progresses in stages and grabs you one little bit at a time. You don't even realize it's happening. And then before you know it, you're stuck neck deep into it and you can't get out. It's important to understand how that happened. That's part that, the story is very important. And I listen intently to those, but what I really want them to do, people that I counsel, is to understand the story, the information, and then how to apply the steps to change it. If you go and look at PTS books and you go look at all the stuff PTSD people are saying, they give you a ton of information. And what don't they give you? How to apply it.
Yeah. Give me all that for like, nah, I don't, that's the
Well,
way I took it. Like, how to apply it be on you, right? We could give you everything, but how do you
yeah.
apply it to your situation?
And that's me. Everything I do, and you read the book, every chapter has 5 or 6 action steps at the end. Do these things. Okay. I gave it
Yes.
information because incrementally we're going to move through this program. And it's nice for people to see that, okay, I can make this little bit of progress, and that's what I need to get to the next step. And this thing keeps on flowing; it doesn't quit. And what people will tell me is it didn't matter what kind of where they were in the PTSD, victimization, if you will. The book can pick you up right there and go with
Mm.
it. That's what we need to be doing because you're told your story. The next person comes in and tells his or her story. You're in different places. You
Right.
experience different things. The intensity level is different. What you come back to is different. And your personality, what your own mental health was different when you went into the service. So, all those things have to apply. The story has to be individualized. I can give you it's about applying my program individually to you. That's what it's about. It's not fitting you in my program. That's ridiculous. It is about saying, here's my program. Now you tell me yours, and then we're going to apply it to who you are.
Right. And yeah, we look like we had a glitch, but it's okay. So I know that some of the signs that I've seen, I kind of ignored it, right? Like I shared with you from one of my buddies, I had to process the cross. Like, what are some of the signs that are mostly commonly overlooked when you see somebody that has this
Personality
going
changes,
through this part of their life, right?
feelings about
sometimes like for
yourself,
me, right? I'm
and
like, ah man, you
and
could just man, you did
how
18, you could do two
confident you
more
are.
standing
Your
on your head, man. You
relationships
gonna
show a
get through
big
it.
part of it. Um,
I
where
seen
you're
some
not getting along
signs,
with
but
your
I
significant
just
other or
blew
your
it off,
family.
right?
Socially, you're
I
starting to
didn't
withdraw.
realize that
You feel like
my buddy was asking for help.
yeah. So I know we had a glitch there.
Like,
Um,
no, I was asking, so what signs are most commonly overlooked?
yeah, and
What-
that's what I was
Yeah.
explaining. Social social isolation, family issues, communication, um, holding down jobs, um, uh,
Mm,
all those are the things I'll ask. How you get along with everyone else? My wife, and they'll tell me how their wife or their husband or whatever is a problem. Socially, you withdraw. I
mm,
look at that. That's a big one. um, Temperament, uh, hyperarousal is a big part of PTSD. That whole kind of, get veterans around fireworks.
yeah,
Is the old thing. No, forget that. I can't do that.
right.
Uh, Loud noises, and you're because you are ready for the next shoe to drop all the time. I look for that. Even though you're not in a war situation, no weapons have to be around. The overreaction to simple stimuli, because a person is on guard all the time and could
Mm,
never put that down. I look for that kind of a situation. Um, I will look for the little things you were talking about, running and then eating, and I'll look for that and substance abuse, overindulgence in some things, or depression and that not getting into anything at all. I just kind of just hanging out. I'll look for all those things. I'll ask them what they were like before and how they are now, and let them see the comparison, and they give
mm,
me all that information. So it's not always the flashbacks and the nightmares and all that. Sometimes it's those little things you just asked for, the changes in the way you socialize, who you socialize with. You know, you might have your whole peer group that you had before you went in. Now you see a couple buddies, or you're hitting,
right.
the bar down the road, and you get a couple guys you can talk to in there. How's that? You look for all those subtle changes.
Yeah. And speaking of subtle changes, that I tried to stay the same exterior on the exterior side, right? So people would not see, but I was really struggling on the inside. And I knew for me, I was delaying to ask for help because I did not want it to affect my career. I didn't want people to look at me a different way. So I kept packing it in or putting it in the back, in the rear with the gear, and I get to it later. Like just keep pushing it back there and I'll get to it later. I got other things pressing. I got a mission to go on. I gotta be there for my subordinates. I gotta be there for this person, that person, and just keep pushing it, pushing and pushing. So why do you think so many people delay asking for help? What's the scoop on that?
Well, the first thing is they're not sure that they have PTSD. All they know is that things don't feel good. If someone came,
Mm,
if I said to you, okay, I can see what's going on with you. You're running, you're running you're doing marathons while you're in the service. I might say, hey, what are you running from? You're not going to tell me. No,
no.
nothing. I'm fine. I mean, I
Right.
got, and I love this, man. You really got to be strong to run it. 26 mile, the whole deal you're gonna tell me, but so I have to what I always do is I bring out those little pieces, you know?
Mm,
Fellow that rescued you says, "Come on, take the walk with me." He saw all this stuff. Um, it's an underlying thing. The outside says, "All right, be strong, don't let anyone know." The inside saying screaming, "I need help, but I won't let you help me."
right.
That's where
Right.
I go back to what you and I were talking about before. My first order of business is that you and I form a trust bond. That's the first
Mm,
order of business. Not me getting to your story, not me diagnosing anything. You came in and you say, "Okay," and I can see it, right? You're a vet. You've been to wherever, whatever war you were in, whatever happened to you. That's we know that. You want me to go in and say, "Hey, what was it like in that battle?" You don't want to. You yourself don't want to go there. But if
right.
I, hey, you're here, let's talk about what I can do for us. You and I figure out how we want to talk and how we want to do this. Give you an opportunity to see who I am and how committed and how engaged I'm going to be in your life, how far I'm willing to go, and then I'm going to be able to see how whether or not you're the person that really wants to work on this problem. And then if we get that all established, moving into details about this and that and teaching a program, that flows nicely, but we have to get that trust bond first.
And building that trust bond is huge. Like we shared before we hit the record button is, I didn't for me it's like a movie, right? I try to tell people like it's like a movie, but you can't hit fast forward, you can't pause, you can't hit rewind. And I know some of my family members that did not experience trauma, they was kind of like standoffish, or they didn't know how to ask, or what to ask, right? To make sure I'm okay. So what would you want every family member, friend, or a leader to understand about PTSD? Because that's like the a taboo, right? Like, oh, everybody wants to throw that phrase around, but not really understanding what that phrase entails.
Yep. There are do's and don'ts when it comes to PTSD. First of all, if you're a family member, you might have some knowledge of PTSD. Maybe you even had it,
Mm,
but you don't want to diagnose your family member with PTSD. You don't want to go there because that person's not going to listen to you anyway. When you might want to say, "Hey, look, geez, you're having a hard time with at work. You're having arguments with people. You're isolating. I can see you drinking a little more. You and I aren't communicating the way, that type of thing." And then you might want to suggest, "Hey, maybe you want to go talk to someone." That's it. You want to encourage them to get to the point where they can go trust someone enough to talk. Don't diagnose. Don't tell someone you should do this. There's no
mm,
way they're gonna listen to that type of thing.
right.
Um, you know, before you get a trust bond, you have to know that the person wants to know you, not the veteran who came out of the war. That's what happened to you. That's part of who you are now. I want to know you. I want to know. I want to connect with you. This person to that person. That's what I want first. All the rest of it will come along. And you know what happens?
Hmm,
Tell someone you were in the war. What do they say? Oh, what was the worst thing
mm,
you ever saw? It's where they go first.
yeah.
I
Yes.
remember, years ago, I decided to counsel in a prison, so I'm there 5 years, counseling there. I come home and, you know, it was my job, and it really trained me for a lot of what I do now with veterans, to be honest with you. But people would say, What's the worst inmate you ever had?" And I said, "That's what you wanna know? You really want me to
Right.
go there? That's not gonna happen." Um, that's what people will do. So, you don't try to get the story out. You want to get the human out. That's what you want to do. You're
The
talking
human
about
connection.
being. I always tell people that in my life, I like to love people one person at a time. You meet a person, you bond with that person if you can, and that's what that's required first. Now we go into identifying the program. Now we talk about the trauma. Now we talk about how you couldn't let go. It's called not being able to reset.
Mm,
Um, some people can hit a traumatic episode, and a week later they seem to be okay, and the other person, it's stuck with them, and they're replaying the whole thing.
yes.
And war has, it's not just trauma. You know what it is. It's survivor's guilt, and it's what I should have done and what I could have done. And you said it yourself. I told this guy, "Why don't you try out for that?" Then he goes and does that, and he gets killed. Well, you didn't do that. However, you're going to own it because PTSD has you owning everything.
Mhm.
That's what it does.
I appreciate that. And for the ones who just come in to pulling up their chair to sit on the stoop to get to school, we here with the author of the Fix Your PTSD Handbook. Falls is here. We touched on the foundation. Now we about to move into I call it the centerpiece, right? The stages of PTSD, right? Part two of the book. So what does PTSD actually feel like? Not clinically, but emotionally. What's the scoop on that?
Emotionally, it is the inability to let go. Okay.
Mm,
So, we'll set something up and, yeah, again, it's in the war, it doesn't matter what war it is. It could be the old shells they used to follow, the IEDs today, whatever it may be. You are in that situation. It occurs. You can now the circumstances are, and what you visualize, you can't let go. In any situation you're in, Kings, your senses get involved. You hear it, you see it. There may be someone talking. There are smells involved, whatever you might have been touching.
yes.
Your whole person grabs onto that, and now you have a difficult time letting go. Now we start how where PTSD starts its vicious little journey. It now you start reliving it. Now you start seeing it again. You see your
Yes.
buddy die. You see the explosion. You see there's the aftermath, and pulling this one here and crawling there yourself, whatever it may have been. Now you start replaying that, and
Yes.
you can't let go, and you're dreaming about it, and you wake up screaming, and now you're angry, and no matter what you do, no matter where you go, that just doesn't seem to let it go. Flashbacks. It doesn't have to be a flashback of the entire episode. That's another fallacy. You don't. You There are times you'll relive the whole thing. There are times it's one little piece that comes and explodes, and just implodes everything internally. Now you're at a position where you cannot let go of the situation. So now you start doing the things you started doing. All right. I, I, and the key you said it when we were talking before. I am not going to let my mind catch up. So I'll let my body do all these things.
Yeah.
I'll run, I'll box, I'll do whatever I have to do. But what I don't want to do is think. That's what I don't want to do.
Right.
And times of being alone and quiet, they're tough. Going to bed is horrendous. Uh, you know, uh, Trying to fall asleep. You don't want. Most people don't want to fall asleep because you know what's going to happen when you do. The dreams
Yes.
start, and it'll be a recurring dream. It'll be almost the same thing all over again. So you start with those kinds of things, and then you get up in the morning and you haven't slept, and you're angry and you're beat up, and now people are talking to you about what's happened, and you can't get it out, and no matter what you do, it's with you, and so you've been victimized. PTSD victimized you. Now you own the victimization. You become the victim, and no matter what you
Mm.
do, you're beating yourself up inside. Now,
Yeah. And
now
man, wow. It's like you reading me as the book, right? I'm the book, but it's and one of the things that it was affecting my relationships, right? My friend relationships, my intimate relationships, my it was just affected because I wanted to distance myself but then they thought I was trying to distance for other things, but I didn't want to tell them why. It's like I was trying to save them from me, right? Like save them from my stress and my thing. So I was like, I just keep you at an arm's length. And people reach out like, hey man, is everything okay? And yeah, everything's good. But it really wasn't. And they asked, well, what can I do to help? How can I help? What you say? It was that internal back and forth. So how does
Uh,
PTSD affect relationship? What's the scoop on that? Like what?
you know what? If I'm in a relationship with a person who has PTSD and I say, "How can I help?" You know what I just told them? What they heard? Well, you're weak, and I need to be there to help you through this, which is exactly what you don't want to have to hear. Um, that's why I say try to get into the problem before you form the bond. Forget that, and then now you're trying to get into a relationship with someone who you think is normal. Who Why would I want to be with you? Because look, I did all this there. I
Right.
should have done that. That person died, or I came home less than a person. I don't have a leg, whatever it may be. Uh, so there is this separation from normal
Mm,
society, from normal relationships that occur, and you grab onto that, and the other person has no idea that you're there. So they keep
right.
trying to push the relationship. So when they can't, they'll say, well, you never talk to me. And they start listing the things that you're not doing,
Yes.
which you already know. And so now you feel worse than ever
Yes.
because this person who should receive a whole lot more from you isn't. And so now you're the cause all over again. Now you come from the trauma, it developed, you can't turn it off. And now it's grabbing the whole of the rest of your life. And whether it's work, social relationships, hobbies, whatever it may be, you're not doing anything, or you're grabbing one of them, like you did with running, and you're obsessing with it because you found something that turns your brain off maybe for 2 or 3 hours. You
Yes.
go to the gym for 3 times a day, whatever it may be, whatever you need to do to turn off your head. And the more you do without understanding why you're doing it, the worse it gets because your brain will require more and more of whatever you're doing to turn it off. So it never stops.
Mm,
So what turns it off again is that trust bond. I can
mm,
walk into that place. It's safe. I can talk to that person. That person gets me. And if I need to change direction for a while, okay, we may do that. Um,
yeah.
the example I have in the book, Michael's story, and it's a story about someone who was in the war and came back
Mhm.
and was torn up with PTSD. And I didn't just tell the story. I told the story 4 times in the book, from the trauma through the various stages of PTSD and into the recovery.
Yes.
People could see an example of how this program works. And there are, it's important to understand that there are so many good people doing this work now. We do the cognitive therapies, we do the eye desensitization therapies that are really, really working for veterans. Um, so again, that stage now, it grabs you, and
Mhm.
you know, and you're stuck in it, and now you're victimized. But the key is, this is the key, you don't need anything outside the world to victimize you anymore because you're doing a darn good job of doing it yourself.
Wow.
That PTS does. It turns you into a machine that victimizes yourself.
And you said turn you into a machine. So for I was a machine. Like I told you what they called me, right? The Black Boys Gone Around. I was running everywhere. I was, working out 3, 4 hours a day and winning awards. Being told to go do this and that, and then I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. 'Cause I said, well, if I'm a high performer, they won't ask me any questions. If I'm a high performer, they'll see that I'm doing so well. They wouldn't dive like you said. Well, why are you running? What are you running for? What are you running from? They wouldn't ask me those questions. I didn't want those questions. So what mask do you think people wear? I told you the mask I wore, right? And I'm not a runner. Well, I'm like, that would I just seen that as a way to keep moving, right? Yeah, I'm like, well, I guess I run because if I run, I'm just constantly moving. And like you said, I'm not thinking. I'm just, one foot in front of the other. Just keep moving. One step, one step, one step, one step.
And that's what people are looking for, something that says, "Here, look at me, I'm this,
Mm,
but I'm not all that other stuff." But if you look back at your example, you knew all along that you were dying inside. You were
yes.
saying, "If I do this, they won't know this." When you ask yourself the question, which should follow, but most people don't ask it, why am I doing this? What am I trying to keep them from knowing? And you get
Mm,
specific about that. Then you know, okay, PTSD's there. I can't let go of this. This seems like there's another person inside me, and I don't want them knowing that. So I got to create this other one. Let them know that. I don't want
mm,
them. When a person has PTSD and you ask them their story, they're not going there. They will not go there. Because doing that will cause them to relive it. If not right then, immediately after and several hours or days later. So, if you ask me, "What's your story?" Okay, I'll give you my story, you know? Um,
right,
uh, I don't have it. I'm not telling you I never did, but I know enough about it to say, "Okay, this is what's going on here." And so, and that's the other part of this. I said before, all of us get traumatized. Most of us deal with PTSD on some level. So if you think I'm going to counsel people and not have been through some of this stuff myself, now if that were the case, I wouldn't come to me. I mean, you want to know
right.
that the person can pick up the signs. So again, people do know that something's wrong. I got, I'm doing this stuff.
Mm,
I am in protect mode. You're not getting in. It's not that you're going to do damage to me. It's that what you do will cause me to do more damage to myself.
right,
You're in a war. You fought, against an enemy. You could, you're able to do that, but not the enemy inside. That's the
right,
problem. How do you kill the internal part of you without killing all of you? Until you get help. Until you
wow.
see that, you know.
And
I don't have
wow,
to kill all of me in order to kill this off. The suicide rate for veterans is close to 30 a day now. So what they're doing is killing it off, some of them. I can't turn off my brain. I got to silence this. It won't turn off no matter what I do. So that gets to be the ultimate sacrifice, but it doesn't have to be. Because that's another thing that we do. It's what I do. Teach you how to turn off your brain, and internal language is it's a crazy thing. I have another book I wrote on that. How you turn off your brain and put positive thoughts in there. You don't just do it
right,
right away. Here's what happened, and I think this is key to help you all understand this. When the military trained you, they trained you to be thinkers that uh, are war machines. That's what they said. Now, this is your training. What they didn't do is train you when you got out to go back and do it in a normal fashion.
mm,
All I'm doing, I'm picking up where they left off and I'm saying, okay, we're going to retrain your brain. We're going to retrain it not to think like it does, not to have use it as a punishing machine for you, as a way to learn how to think in a way that is productive, that is real, that is honest, that doesn't have its foundation based upon things that happened to you that were terrible. That doesn't mean you ever forget any of that stuff. It just means you know how to come to terms with it and then put it in a place where it doesn't come up anymore. And if it does, you know what to do with it. That's all.
wow. Appreciate that. And that's where I had to realize when it was my pivot point, right? From surviving day to day to that healing process. Like, what's the scoop on trying to help somebody make that pivot, for that shift? When does that shift begin?
Once the trust bond is there, then
Mm,
the person, first of all, there's your first shift. You asked the question many people ask, where's the shift? There are several, there are many. The first shift is
mm,
from a person who will not trust to one who will trust one person. And to know that the information that we're discussing stays right here, doesn't go anywhere. The next pivot is to say, okay, I want to do this. I'm going to commit myself to it, and I'm going to stick with it. Because you're gonna bond with me. Then we're going to start telling, and that's going to feel great. Then we're
right.
going to tell your story. And it's going to feel rotten again. You're not telling a great story. It almost kills you. So you learn how to go back and understand that sometime moving back a little bit is in fact progress.
Mm,
That's a huge pivot to say, okay, I went back, it seemed, but I with someone who I trust, and he's got a lifeline on me, and he can pull me forward. Second pivot is I am not in this alone anymore. I can say whatever
yes.
I got to say and know that that person has my back. Then it is the third pivot, the big one, is to say, okay, I'm not only going to trust him, I'm going to trust this program. I'm going to work it every day.
Yes.
And some days are going to feel great. Some days, we did great work, and came out of there feeling really great. Some days we got onto something that I didn't want to talk about. I mean, I thought I'd never want to talk about it. We started doing it, and I started to feel hyper again, and my brain started spinning. And when that happens, you want to be able to say, let me just stop a minute. My brain is spinning. That got me going because that's valuable information. I want to stop with you at that point. I don't want to push it past it. I want to stop with you and
Mm,
figure out why it's going at that, why it's spinning now. There's a connector back there somewhere. We got to go get that.
right. And going to get is so if you're just pulling up, grabbing your seat, you pulling up on the stoop, you getting the scoop. This is the Fix Your PTSD handbook. We speak of the faulty. We already talked about the foundation. We talked about the stages. And now we're rolling into part 3 of his book is the roadmap, the recovery roadmap. What does healing really look like? Like, what have you seen through your books, through your conversation, through your studies, through sitting down with another person on the other side of that chair or table? How does that healing process look like,
Yeah.
really?
Well, we talked about, and it's the big question. What I was waiting for you to ask. People will say, "Oh, is the book going to tell me all the things I need to do?" The very fact that I said before, your story's different. We're not putting you into some canned program and you graduate, get your certificate, and go off. That's ridiculous. What the roadmap looks like is how to help you get into the counseling program, the trust bond. It tells you how to get into that, how to form that, how to look for the right people. Once you're in there and
Mm,
you're getting challenged, what to do with it, how you progress through incrementally, one step to another, how you're starting to retrain your brain and shut some of that crazy uh, that crazy stuff in your head down, uh, how to move to the next step where you can start to say, okay, this is going to work for me. They're all the hows because anyone who's been following along with us at this point should be saying, okay, I'm hearing this another program. How is it going to work? How am I supposed to get into this? That's the roadmap. The roadmap tells you exactly what to do and even tells you when you're in it, how to challenge the person who's helping you to help form that bond because you have to
yes.
ask questions. You got to advocate for yourself. You don't walk in there blind and just say, okay, whatever you say I'm going to do. You want to understand the program. You want that person to break it down piece by piece so you understand it, you trust it, and you're willing to work for it.
and working for it. I know when, I read the book, I was like, wow, what happened when I was going through my journey? I was feeling like overwhelmed, right? I was warned with myself, man, should I say something? Okay, don't say nothing. Every time I go sit down and have a conversation with the mental health provider, do I really want to share everything, right? Because like you said, like I did not want to be listed, right, as that individual. So what's the first step? So if someone's feeling overwhelmed, like, man, I don't know, is today, should I say something or should I hold it for tomorrow? What can they do today to start walking that process as part of the roadmap?
A great question. If the honesty and the trust bond is there, you don't have to go in and say, "Okay, I got this on my mind. I have to tell you this." What you have to say is simply, "I got something." And I
Mm,
what you said, I don't know if I wanna bring it out now or I need to hold it for the next time. If when that happens, and I encourage that, when that happens, I say, "Okay, let's start looking at how it's making you feel. Let's talk about that.
mm,
I wanna know what you're feeling right now." When the person gets into the feelings and starts talking, "Oh, it's making me, angry, it's making this," then we'll talk and I'll say, "Well, first of all, we're gonna say, where in the session are we? Do we have 15 minutes left? Well, I don't think we wanna bring that out. Um, we may wanna hold that. If I
mm.
have time and, hey, and someone canceled and that behind you, okay, let's keep going." Or I might
Great.
say, "You wanna come in tomorrow?" What I don't want you to do is hold on to it and say, "Well, you know what? I'm not gonna bring that out," because that happens, it can happen very quickly. I wanna let you know that, I'm interested in your feelings about it and why you're struggling to bring it out. I
Mm,
wanna give you that understanding. It's interesting, once the feelings, I give you a chance to say how you're feeling about it and why you're having a conflict about bringing it out, we get that conflict and we smooth it out, you're ready to go.
wow.
It's not that, should I bring this out? It's not what you want to bring out. It's the conflict about whether I can, whether it's a good time to bring it out, whether I can bring the whole thing out. It's all that kind of stuff. Let's get into that first. Let's find out what you're feeling and why you're having a problem. We can get into the, the dynamics, the story. We can get into that anytime you're ready, but there's a whole lot of valuable information in you understanding why you're in conflict at that moment.
Yeah. Because for me, my patience was short, right? Because I was trying to show, hey, I'm good, I'm ready to get back in the fight when I really didn't, like we talked about earlier, to address the core, get down to the core, to the centerpiece. I just wanted to talk about and address the symptoms, but that the importance of being patient and working through the process, working through the roadmap, and actually addressing the center mass.
Yeah.
What happens when people expect quick results? I know what happened to me. I had to go back in for the second time, right? Like, because I was rushing the process so much. I had to go back and revisit impatient because I
Yeah.
was rushing the process.
Yeah. And if you look at the example in the book with Michael's story, that's what Michael did. He wanted to rush it. And
Mhm,
people, will judge that. "Oh, you're going too fast. You're in crisis. You feel terrible. You want this to stop
mm,
as fast. Give me a pill that I'll take this away right now." And that's not there. So what happens is once people start to realize that this is starting to work,
mm,
the trust bond, that isn't just established, it grows like any other relationship. So now, okay, I feel really bad, but I know I can talk to you about how I feel and what's going on in my brain right now, and I can get through this piece of it. That's what I said when you and I were talking earlier. uh, Length of a program for PTSD, if you're doing it right, year and a half, 2 years. But think about it. If you start now, a year, 2 years down the road, you're gonna feel pretty good. If you don't, this is what you got. And that's what I keep telling veterans. If I know you want to hold on to this, I know you don't want people to think you're weak. If you're still in the service, that can be something that's real concerning. But on the other hand, if you keep holding on to it, where you are is where you're going to stay, or it gets worse.
Mm. Wow. Getting worse. So, falls. If trauma could speak, what lies will it tell us? What's the scoop
Oh,
on that?
welcome to denial. Welcome to rationalization, intellectualization. It will tell you, first of all, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm,
Hey,
yes.
I'm a soldier. I got this. First thing it's going to say. Uh, the reason I feel like this, let me give you a nice smart reason for it. Yeah, but I still got it.
Mm,
I'm stronger than this. Um, no one, why would you talk to anyone? They're not going to understand you and they don't care. That's a big one.
mm, yeah.
Only trust your brothers and sisters. Yeah, they've been there. So you can spin your story and they can spin their story and you can bond on that, but you're not moving forward.
Right.
And then it's going to attack some things that have some fact in there. I look at everything I did and I came out and the VA didn't do much for me at all. You know how many times I've heard that story? And now you're
Mm,
spinning. And sometimes they're lies, sometimes they're truths, but you're going to push past that. If you're not getting it from the VA, you're going to get it somewhere else. You have to pass through this last big lie, which is I'm not worthy of anything that's good. So now you don't even go find it. And if you get anything and you start something that's good, it's interesting. Great, good relationship you have. Oh, meet this nice person. I'm
yeah.
not worthy of this. That person would
Wow.
be better if they knew who I was.
Wow.
It's
That's
like
so
the
true.
devil gets a hold of you, and doesn't matter what you say. Um,
Yeah.
one of the things I always throw out to people, and some people grab it and some people don't, is I always say, is where's your faith? Do you
Mm,
have a higher power? You know, that helps.
yeah.
Some people can do it. Some people can't. Some people are
Yeah.
angry at God because of what happened. Some people look to him for strength. The point of this is there are so many tools available,
Yes.
but none of them are going to get you through it tomorrow. You said it
Mm,
yourself, one step at a time. That's how our brains learn. Learning is nothing more than the brain experiencing change over time.
yes.
That, that's what they did to you when they made you a soldier. They took everything out that they didn't want, and they
Yeah.
trained your brain. And,
Right.
and
Retrain the brain.
and you fought the war, whatever you did, and you had more time to learn more things until you get to the point where you're not the person you used to be. And now you're coming back trying to be that person. It's another thing I tell veterans all the time. Stop trying to be the person you used to be. We're going to create a new person, new happy person. You try to
Wow.
go back and get that person. First of all, that person is gone. The military took that away.
Mm,
Then your experiences, they said, okay, fine, yeah, this is who I am now. Then PTSD came and said, yep, this is who you are, and you can't get rid of this. And yes, you can. I
yeah.
do people day after day. I'll have two
Yeah.
tonight, and they do it. The people that stick with the program and want to make this happen will do that. But
Yeah.
you got
Because wow. I was just about to ask you, do you think more people spend their time and energy hiding their pain than healing it?
everyone does that. People look at
Yeah.
pictures of PTSD. The whole world's doing that.
Yes.
That's the problem. And whereas I don't want you to know my story. I don't want to get too much into your story too, because you know what? Might connect with my story and make me feel bad. It's
Right.
all that kind of stuff. There's some of us that push past that, and we're willing to get in there and learn about you, trust you, love you for who you are. You don't want to love a person for who they can be. It's who you are today. You come in and
Currently.
in your mind are broken today. That's who I get to love today, and we move forward with that. It's
Wow.
a process.
Wow. Simple process. My question to you, and hopefully I know you'll give us a scoop on this. Like, what if someone is listening right now or viewing or watching this, and in their mind they think that they're too broke? I used to think like that, like, man, I'm too broken. Nobody don't want me. I'm too broken to heal. I'm just gonna deal with it. What would you say directly to them?
In situations like that, and I get that all the time, man, you're never gonna help me, man. You see what my story's all about.
Mm,
And I say to them, "I already am. You're here." Okay. And I
mm,
tell them, if you think that the only person, the only way anyone could love you is if you are some other person, that's where you're off track. You're just at a point in your life where you're feeling bad about you. That doesn't mean I do.
mm,
I'm in this profession, if you will, this calling that I like to call what I do because I love people. And that doesn't mean that, hey, come into the office and 2 years from now, I'll love you. That's ridiculous. If
right.
anything, this is an interesting concept. It's easier to love you when you are broken and doing your best to try to heal yourself.
Mm,
That's when you need to love the most.
right.
And that's when folks like myself, we got it to give. You don't
Right.
have to be you don't have to work through it or be like other people, and try not to say, "Well, if I was like that person, I'd be better." And you don't know that person's story. Remember, they're hiding it.
Right. Comparing yourself. Yeah. I was that. I
Oh,
was that
the
person.
moment you compare yourself, you're done because you didn't compare yourself because you thought you were great. You compared yourself because you thought you weren't. So that
Right.
process beats you up before you can start.
Yeah.
You are lovable right where you are. Give somebody a chance.
Wow. Yeah, that was one of my struggles, right?
Yeah.
Like, mine is not, man. He has it worse than me, so I'm definitely not gonna say nothing like this. Like, yeah, hear his story. Let me just be quiet because mine doesn't even hold a candle. But when I share my story, like, man, how did you make it through all of that and you still here? So, and like you said, your book shares like it's not a blanket covering, right? This is not a one size fit all. Everybody is individual and everybody is separate. So false, like imagine somebody just pull like we sitting on the stoop right now, you sharing the scoop of your book, the Fix Your PTSD handbook, and somebody just pulled up a chair beside us. Sitting in that chair is someone who's carrying invisible wound for years. They convince themselves that healing is impossible. They even convince themselves that they'll always be defined by trauma. If this conversation were the only message they would ever hear, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that I love them just the way they are, and I know the way out of it. And even though you might
Mm.
have tried 10, 15, 20 different things and they all failed, I will guarantee you the trust and love bond we set up will be stronger than anything you feel.
Wow, appreciate it. And what makes you feel healing is still possible?
Healing's always possible. It's it's always possible. The brain continues to learn. The soul wants to be loved. Absolutely. Those are the ingredients. If you're willing to learn and you're willing to love and accept love, anything can happen.
Mm. Wow, I appreciate that. And so usually when I read a book, like I tell people, it's like I envision myself walking through the airport and like, and let me see the cover, let me pick it up. And this grab because PTSD is in red, right? So red grabbed the eyes. So I would have definitely put this in my book, and the thing to go pay for it. So when I go sit on the plane, I can sit down and read it because of me going through certain things. And when I was reading the book, I started to jot down my parallel story. And I shared with you prior for us here record. Now I want to share it what I wrote down to the audience, to the listeners, and to you to see if this aligns with what we discussed. Are you ready for it?
You got it. Let's do it.
Okay. So I wrote down trauma may shape your story, but it doesn't have to write the ending. Healing begins when shame loses its voice. You are not your diagnosis. Recovery is measured in courageous moments, not perfect days. Surviving was your first victory. Healing is your next. Hope grows one decision at a time. Progress is rarely loud, but it's powerful. Remember, I told you my progress was just making it to the next day. That was my progress. Just to make Kings make it to tomorrow. The bravest thing some people will ever do is ask for help. And that's when I got to my breaking point. I said, you know what? I need help now. Healing isn't forgetting, it's learning to live fully again. And this is my cornerstone for me rebuilding myself and going through your book and aligning it with my journey. Your future deserves more influence than your past. So I have this band right here on my wrist. I received from another Air Force wounded warrior when I went to share my story um, about 2 months ago to an audience of recovering airmen that's ill, injured, or injured in the Air Force. And he took it off his wrist and he gave it to me. And I haven't taken it off yet. You want to know what this band says right here, False? And a lot of the audience don't know, but it says, demons are behind me, and so is the past. I haven't taken it off because it's my reminder of stuff that's behind me is in my past. Like you said earlier, you have to let it go so you can heal. If you keep holding on to it, that thing is gonna, it's like pulling you underneath, water you trying to come up to swim and it's keep pulling you down like a weight. So I had to learn how to let it go. So that was my 10, my stuff when I went through your book and aligned it with my journey. So I just want to say thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. And you said the one thing that I tell people all the time, you have PTSD. It comes from a very real place, but it is not who you are. It's what you have. And we can change that. We can get back and make you whole. All you have to do is commit yourself and say, okay, I'm going to beat this no matter what. People have afflictions, they're cancers, whatever they may have. There are the people that say, I've had this, it's killing me, and I just can't do it no matter what, it's going to be there. Or they're the people that say, no matter what, I'm going to find a way and I am going to be happy. You have to pick which one of those people you want to be. When you do, if you're saying, yep, I want to be happy, then you want to get the person that you can trust and and don't sabotage it because it's real easy to sabotage. There's hard work ahead of you, and you'll be uncomfortable. You'll get afraid. All those sorts of things. Trust that person to take you through it. Stay with it, and you will start to realize that you are becoming more powerful. You're accessing all those power points you pushed away, and when that happens, you realize this thing can't kill me. Only I can kill me. And I am not dying to this. I'm not letting it happen.
I appreciate that. And how can the listeners, the audience get a copy of the Fix Your PTSD Handbook? How can they get a hold of you? How can they reach out to you? Where can they subscribe, get a copy,
Mhm.
make an appointment, just to help with this journey?
Yeah, the best place to get me is on my website. It is my name, faustRuggiero.com. All the books are there. Links for all of them for Amazon. You can get the books there. There's even excerpts from the book, so you can get an idea of what we're talking about. And there's a contact link. Have any questions? Contact me. I'll get back to you.
I appreciate you coming to sit on the stoop to give the scoop. And I just want to share to our audience out there, remember, you do not have to drown in the sea of transition. Grab that vet S.O.S Lifeline. We're here to help. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, pass this along to somebody that's out there battling PTSD, or that's unsure of PTSD, or need more information about what is post traumatic stress disorder, right? Disorder, syndrome.
I'm
If
sorry,
you're
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder.
post traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
So if you need that roadmap, it's right here. Remember, it's not an overall thing. It's a roadmap. You have to tailor it to you. Faust and his team, his book is doing great things. Like I said, if I would have had this 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, but I'm here where I'm at now, so I can help share this information and pay it forward. So thank you, Faust. Thank you, listeners. Until next time, everybody take care. Peace.